You are tuned in to What Up Baltimore online radio. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this channel are of the host and not of LadyJMedia. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, What Up Baltimore TV. And if you really don't want to miss any of the shows, hit that notification bell and you'll get a message every time we come on. Now, we got it from here, so sit back, relax, and stay tuned. Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Up Baltimore. Tonight is going to be fun. I have two people in here. Mr. Rat. I lost Mr. Rat that quick. Just lost him. I have Miss Cedar on here. Miss Cedar, she's on here. I think Rat, I don't know what happened. He went off, so we'll try to get him back. Cedar, you're muted. Your mic is muted. Did I lose her too? Cedar, your mic is muted. Your mic is muted. Unmute your mic. I'm sorry, you guys. Unmute your mic, Miss Cedar. There you go. Okay.
Okay, wait a minute.
We can hear you. Okay, now she went out. I don't know what's going on. She went out. Okay, there's Rat. He's back. All right, so I don't know which. She went out for just a minute. But anyway, tonight, everybody, we're going to have a fun conversation. And this conversation is in reference to a question that I put out. Sometimes during the week, I'll put out questions because I just put out feelers. I want to see, what their thoughts and feelings are about. So since Father's Day was coming up, I decided to put out a question. And the question was it was really because I heard a conversation, and the conversation had gotten really intense. And so the conversation was about Father's Day and about women who are single and, the struggle that they've had of raising their children without a man in their life, especially without the dad. And they feel like Father's Day comes around, you should say Happy Father's Day to them too. And the other people were like, no, mothers have their day, let the fathers have their day. I decided to put a question out because I wanted to see how you all felt about it. And I got a lot of different answers. So these two people were actually in the comment section. And I liked their comments. So I asked them if they would come on so we could have a discussion about it. So we have Rat on here. We have Miss Cedar on here. Now, Cedar has been on John's show. She does spoken word and poetry. Y'all got to check her out. We'll get all of her details at the end. And Rat was on our program about organ donors. So this is a totally different thing. We're going to get into this topic. So I just want to jump right in. And Rat, I want you to tell us what you think. Do you think that when Father's Day comes around that we should say Happy Father's Day to the mothers, the single mothers, and should they get gifts?
I mean, I guess my thoughts are Mother's Day have mothers, fathers have fathers. I mean, I really don't care. I think it's the way this world's going this day and age. I don't know what's going on anymore. But like I said, I think there's a Father's Day and a Mother's Day. But that's just my opinion.
And your opinion, no, I can't come up with your opinion is and appreciated on this platform. So let's see how you feel about it. What do you think?
I feel if you've had to step up and play the role of both, then you should be able to celebrate both roles, whether it is Mother's step up and play both roles, or play both roles.
Okay.
Both of them.
Okay. You're breaking up a little bit, Miss Cedar. We heard, but I get what you're saying. I got what you're saying. Your phone was breaking up a lot, but I get it. And I want to actually read. I'm going to be reading some of the comments, but Rat, I'm going to go back to something you said. Like Mother's Day and let the fathers have their day. Give me to like Happy Father's Day? I mean, Happy Father's Day to someone who's a mother. Like Father's Day was be hard for you to like buy gifts and say Happy Father's Day.
I couldn't hear you real well. Something's breaking up. I don't think it's me and you, but anyway.
Yeah, I think Cedar's phone is breaking up really bad. Okay, she went out. She's gonna come back. Go ahead, but I'll repeat it. What I was asking is, do you think that? I mean, would you have a hard time like saying Happy Father's Day to a mother and giving her a gift?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. A mother's not a father. I mean, I'm not going to dress up in a tutu and ask my kids to tell me Happy Mother's Day. I mean, that's just my ignorance, I guess, thoughts. I mean, but yeah. I mean, I know a single mom plays a role as a father and all that stuff, and vice versa. But I mean, there's a father and there's a mother. That's just my beliefs.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what some people were saying in the comments. And I want to actually read a couple of the comments. Oh, there she is. Miss Cedar is back. She's back. Let me bring her back on in here. I think it's the weather because it looks like a storm or something is coming through. So that's probably why her phone is breaking up. But Miss Cedar, go ahead. You were saying
I can move. Of it. Some women have been put in different positions.
Your phone is breaking up really bad.
Let me try moving.
Okay.
But in my opinion, some men and some women have been put in different positions. And as a result of the different positions, they've had to play both roles. And I know for myself, I'm going towards my car, so maybe it'll be a little bit better there. And as a result of them having to play the different roles, I know, as like for myself, there were times that I could be the soft mother and be what a woman's supposed to be for my sons and my daughters. And then there was times when I had to toughen up and act like I was the man role. And as a result of that, I think if you got to play both roles, why not celebrate? And I think the same thing for men. If they got to play both roles, why not? And what's wrong with it being your choice?
Well,
did you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. And this is the question I want to ask you, though. Do you think, because I was talking to somebody about this today on the way home, but do you think that we can really, and I'm talking about us being women, do you think that we can really, what's the word I want to use, that we can really be the man in our son's life or in our children's life?
If you have to, you have to. In my case, I had to. It wasn't a choice. I had to. It was times where, like I said, I wanted to be soft and just be the motherly role, right? But I remember my pastor saying one thing. He said, you single mothers that know that the fathers cannot be in their child's life need to man up and step up and be stronger for your sons. I had 2 sons and 2 daughters. So I listened to it. And when I listened to it, I had to step up. There was, like I said, there was times where I wanted to be soft.
Mm-hmm.
I really did want to be soft,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't. So as a result, yeah, my son will tell you, oh, he was coming at me as a teenager. And I had to come up at him like a man would versus how I would as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, my kids have celebrated. Oh, I lost my breath on that walk. My kids have celebrated both.
Mm-hmm.
And because for reasons beyond any of our control, they weren't able to have their father. I was married when I had them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't like one of the single women just having kids. All 4 of my kids are by the same person.
Okay.
And but things happened to where he was not able to be in their life. He didn't get locked up or nothing like that. Um, um, Illness took over him.
Mhm. Mhm.
So as a result, he wasn't able to be in their life. And it wasn't my choice. Wasn't his choice. It was what was better for the kids.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I had to step up.
Right. Right.
And I wanted my sons to be strong men, which they are now. And
Mhm.
one of them is a father. One of them chose not to be a father. I wanted my daughters to be strong women, which is
Okay.
why I don't have a problem if a man who's had to step up and do things he wouldn't do as a man with his daughters. And
Mhm.
I'm saying he want to celebrate it. But that's because I'm strong enough in my womanhood to understand that choice.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
part of the problem is a lot of men aren't strong enough in their manhood to accept if a woman want to celebrate both.
Okay, Miss Cedar, you gonna go right there, huh? Okay. You gonna go right there.
I
Okay.
didn't hear what.
I, no, I said okay, so you gonna go right there. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. So, Mr. Rat, before I say anything, what do you think about what she just said? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's great that she stepped up, and I hate it that she was in those circumstances, and I hate it that the kids were out without the father, and I think kids do need a father figure in their lives. I mean, it's difficult in this world this day and age. And unfortunately, my kids had me and the mom around until about 2 years ago, but my kids are 24 and 21 now. But I think there's a definite role for the mother to play as well as the father to play, and I know it's got to be difficult for a single mom to step up to the role as a father, and vice versa. I think it'd be a lot harder for the mother to step up as a father versus the father step up as a mother. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
It is hard, but when you got to do what you got to do, you do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, I can completely
And
understand
because
that.
Go ahead, Miss
and in
Cedar.
my case, and in my case, my dad still had young children at home. He was raising his sons. I didn't want to put the responsibility on him, and he
Mm-hmm.
had his family still there. And
Mm-hmm.
because I came from where my mother and my father were in my life, so this was new to me. But I listened to
Mm-hmm.
what my pastor said, and I knew I had to step up because I didn't want the streets having my sons or my daughters. And as a result, now I got one Cornell graduate, Cornell University on a full scholarship, finished. Now I got a master's degree from Georgetown, working for the federal government. As a result, I got one Howard University graduate, and
Mm-hmm.
right now he is helping his wife with his son, and by their choice. I got one that has his own business, but prior to that, he was doing banking with M&T, and I
Mm-hmm.
got one with his own business, and I got one that works for me, and
Okay.
all I'm doing successful. Nobody been in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
and but I had to play both roles, and it
Yeah.
was hard because I
Mm-hmm.
know one time I had my teenage son coming to me like he was a man, and I'm
Oh.
like, no, you don't wear the pants in my house. I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I had to step to him like one, not
Yeah.
like I would have ever as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
As a woman, I would have been more of huggy, holdy, and touchy.
Right. Right.
But I had to think, what would my father do?
Mm-hmm.
What would I think his father would have done if his father was in his right mind to do it?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's how I acted in those moments. And he still tells me to the day that he's thankful that I did act in those moments. Because we had this conversation around Father's Day too.
Mm-hmm. And I think, you know what? See, I have a son. My son is 27. I realized around, I think when he was maybe 12, I started realizing like he needs more men around him because I just felt like as a woman, there was just certain things, Miss Cedar, that I just, as hard and as tough as I could be, I just still felt like he needed that man in his life. And me personally, I don't feel like a woman can really have that impact on, especially her boys, like a man can. That's my personal opinion, because I just feel like we just can't. I just feel like we can't, and I
But you
feel like
can try.
we can
But you
try.
can try. And
Yeah, we.
and if you try, it works.
Mhm.
Cause see, you don't always have to where you can call on the other men.
Right.
I tried to call on the other men. I dated men during a time period, but it's not
Mhm.
like who was constantly there.
Right. Mhm.
And I was what was constantly there.
Right. Right.
So I had to be stronger than what I would have been had I been allowed just to be in the woman role.
Mhm. Mhm. And let me
And
before we continue on, let me say this. If anybody would like to call and comment, what are your thoughts on uh, saying Happy Father's Day to women who have raised their children alone? And then also, if you'd like to come on, if you want to come on the screen, you can actually text your email to the phone number on the screen, and I will send you the link. You can come on and we can keep having this conversation. Let me just read a couple of these comments, because Caitlin said that I honestly don't think it's necessary. We have Mother's Day. That's the day I'm thankful for. It's hard enough at times having Happy Father's Day said to me, but it makes me remember unnecessary hardship. So for that, I will forever love being acknowledged on our special day. And when she wrote that, it made me think, because I said, there probably are some women out here who don't want to remember what it was like to not have a father in their life, and now somebody's coming around saying Happy Father's Day to them. And then we had another person who, it was a lot of comments. I probably won't get into it, but
I
somebody
guess
else. Uh-huh.
I guess I'm different because I had a father in my life. I still have a father in my life. I love him to death. I wish my children had had their father, but it just wasn't possible.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's something that we all have to process in our own way. For me, I had my mom and dad in my life, so I had a really good upbringing. I can't complain, but I never thought I
me
would be
either.
divorced. I never thought I would be divorced. Go from being married to being divorced and being a single parent. But I did feel the weight of needing to have men around my son, because I just felt like it was just some things I didn't know, and I needed to put him around men who could actually help him to understand some things, and also just deposit some of their manhood in him. I just felt like that was important. So that's what I
I
did.
I did that as well, but when it came to discipline and things of that sort, and the men can't do the discipline because they're
Mhm,
not their father or their mother. And
mhm,
I put my son in football, and I had his coaches to back me up on my discipline and things of that
mhm,
sort. I had him involved in the church, and I had them to back me up on my discipline. But when it came down to the downright discipline, and in my home, and there were times I had to be soft, and there was times I had to be hard like a man would be.
mhm,
Yeah, that's got to be hard because I know in our household, it seemed like my wife, her name was Dee Dee, but she was the first line of defense. And if they said, "Oh, just wait till your dad gets home," that's when they knew,
And see, I didn't have that option.
exactly. And it sounds like you
I
did a
didn't
good.
even have the option. I could say, "Oh, I'm going to call your dad."
Yeah, I mean,
mhm.
it sounds like you did a good job and you stepped up to the role and your kids turned out good. But it's got to be hard for a single mom to do that. And I
Mhm.
mean, like,
It is hard to do that, and that's why I say, what's wrong with if we don't mind it? See, it's a choice there. If we don't mind it saying Happy Father's Day to us, and because we had to be. I loved it when my kids did it,
I think there's just
and
too many. I mean, I was going to be involved in every aspect of my kids' life. When they were little, I didn't care what they did, whether it's sports, band, whatever they decided. And my son, he tried sports, that didn't work out for him. I live in Georgia, but he turned into a little country boy. I
Mhm.
never thought in my lifetime I'd be showing goats, but by gosh, I was right there beside him showing goats with him.
Mm-hmm.
and he shot competitive BB gun, then 22, then shotgun. My
Mm-hmm.
daughter was a little sports one. I coached her in basketball, soccer, softball, everything she did. I was just going to be. I think that's the man's job, to be a part of
And
the kids'
see,
life.
that's where I had to be there. I'm working
Right.
2 and 3 shifts. But
Mm-hmm.
I still was at football. I still was at the basketball games. I still was in the stands. I, I had to be those roles. And for my daughters, I was at cheerleading, field hockey, lacrosse,
Mm-hmm.
when I wasn't working. So since I had to step up and play the role, why can't I be acknowledged somewhat for it? And but it's my choice. If it's not your choice to have it, then it's not your choice.
Mm-hmm.
What if you had twice as good Mother's Day?
Yeah,
Mother's Day, my kids do me well all year round. That's
Okay.
not the issue.
Maybe.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're a super mom. I mean, my hat's off to you.
mm-hmm.
it's like even like right now, my daughter and her husband could not be at my grandson's football game. The reason I mean not football, baseball game. The reason you saw me outside is I'm out there at that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
And I think as mothers, we do what we have to do. But then
we do.
see, I want to say this also. Red probably won't get this because he's a man. But this is the thing that bothers me when we do step up. Like, we don't have a choice in some situations, especially when it comes to our children. We don't have a choice about stepping up or laying back. And I mean, we do have a choice. But if we want our children to go in the right way, we get up and we do what we have to do, which then gives us the label of she's aggressive, she's angry, she's just
She
got a,
want to take it from us.
yes, got an attitude. But we were forced into a position that we didn't want, a position that we didn't expect. And in order for us to raise these children the right way, we as women had to toughen up. And you said something earlier about you had to you had to be tough. You had to get in your boy's face, and you had to do stuff that a man would probably do, because you couldn't say to them, wait till your father gets home. You had to toughen up and
Mhm.
be in the moment. And that's the only thing I don't like about all of this, because we become labeled, and I don't
I agree.
labels. Yeah, that's what I have a problem with.
And the thing is, we don't reverse it. When men have to step up and play that role, we don't make them, oh, you sissified now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And no, we are like happy that they stepped up and played that role. And I'm like, why can't it be the same for us as a woman?
We clap
Just
and
like,
we tell them how
yes,
great they are.
just like I say, I have no problem with a man that has had to step up and he make the choice that he wants to be celebrated on Mother's Day. In fact, I even put it on my page. And to the men that have stepped up and been men when the mothers couldn't be, happy Mother's Day to you. And I don't have a problem with that, but that's part of being secure in who you are and what
Yeah.
role you play.
Mm-hmm. Now
And
I
I'm
wanted to read.
secure in my role as a mother, so I don't mind if a man step up.
Right, right. Now I wanted to read this comment from Dee Dee. She says, no, she's answering the question. Is it appropriate for you to say happy Father's Day to a mother? She says no, because why would you say happy Mother's Day to a man who raised his children on his own? Men are men
And
and
I
women are
would.
women. Sunday is Father's Day for men. So that's from Miss Dee Dee.
I guess
And
I'm different. I always been different.
mm-hmm. and Pamela says
I've been
no.
different.
Pamela says no. They are not fathers, nor could they be. So these are people that made comments to the post. It was a lot of people commenting
I
on it.
saw some of them, and I read some of them, and I'm like, I guess I'm different. I was always
Mm-hmm,
taught to think out the box anyway, so I'm gonna
mm-hmm.
think out the box. Because if I throw it in the box, I'd have been some of these women that still continue to play their woman role without a man being in their son's life and
Mm-hmm,
only play the woman role.
mm-hmm.
But that one time that my pastor said that we need to stop doing it, I heard it because I was doing it. And then I said, okay, let me make a change. because I don't want to lose these boys.
Right, right. Now, not Christopher, I want to read you something that Evie wrote. Okay, Evie wrote quite a bit, so I want to read what she said. Let me see if I can pull it up here. She says no. She's saying no. You should not say Happy Father's Day to mothers. It should not be. With all the I'm strong women mantras, you mean these women can't tolerate not being called dad? These strong and independent women can't abide letting men having their day. And she says, give me a freaking break. This is just another iteration of emotionally charged women propped up by a false sense of pride because of their or socially approved organizations and what they have told them. And I can't, for some reason, the rest of her comment. But basically, Evie is not having it. She's not having it. And she feels like...
Then that's her choice.
Right. She's saying that women are so strong. Why do you need to have a Father's Day too? If you're so strong, why do we have to step over Father's Day?
Then why not? Because we're strong. Why not?
Okay.
My question to her is why not? If you're secure in who you are, why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you had to do it. That's like, okay, if I'm working 2 jobs, okay, and I'm gonna get paid from both jobs, right? And I might be good at the one job and stuff, but I'm working the second job, and I'm still gonna expect to get knowledge from both jobs.
Okay.
And parenthood is a job.
Yes, it is. And Evie also said this. She said, my guess is that many of these women are the same ones that would say men can be women and vice versa. And if that's the case, then let's not have Mother's Day at all. That's from Evie.
But that's not the case. The thing is, I'm not saying that men can be women or however it goes. I just said it's a choice. And that's what life is about, what choices we make. It's a choice. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Does not mean it's not for me.
Right, right. So for those of you who are listening or watching, you can call in at 443-297-4753. You can give your comment. Or if you'd like to come on the screen now, Red and Sita were actually in the comments on my page. And I reached out to them to see if they wanted to come on the screen and talk about it. So I'm glad they came on. If you would like to come on the screen and talk too, all you have to do is text your email to 443-297-4753 and I'll bring you on and we can continue to have the conversation.
Come on so y'all can chew me out. I take it.
Now.
And it's nobody influencing me. It just was my thought pattern in my head from what I've been through.
Mm-hmm. Now, Christopher says, he said, no, they cannot. He said, they can barely, Christopher, he said they can barely be the mother on their own. Have we seen these streets? Christopher? I don't know, Christopher.
Well, I can say like this, Christopher, mine are straight.
Yes.
I got 2 of them owning their own houses, all of them living on their own, not living with me, and I ain't taking care of nobody else's kids but the ones I gave birth to. My grandkids, when they with me, they are with me just to visit me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a single mother that played both roles.
Yes, I understand that. And then we have Marissa who says no. She says, as a woman who was a single mom, it kind of feels like a slap in the face in a weird way, to say Happy Father's Day to her. She said it feels like a slap in the face. And the comments are just so interesting from the men and the women. And I think there was one guy, I'm trying to find his comment. There was one guy on here. Oh, his name is Ron. He said, I was raised by a single mom, so I gave her props for Mom's Day, Dad's Day, Valentine's Day, Christmas Day. She got it all. To me, it's all about the role they played, not their gender. Okay, Ron.
You go, Ron. He gets it.
Okay, Ron. And Ron, if you're listening or watching and you want to come on, Ron, because I'm going to tell you, you were probably the only man in the comments who agreed with, saying Happy Father's Day to women. So, Brett, I'm gonna let you jump in here because we've been talking. Give us your thoughts.
I think we're talking about two different things here.
Mm-hmm.
One is how you raise your kids, and I think Sita did a wonderful job from what I'm hearing.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the others, talking about a day. I mean, it's two different things. I mean, Sita did a wonderful job raising her kid, but I think there's definitely a role for the father. I mean, you need to teach your kids, especially if you have a son, how to treat women, how to, have manners,
I did that.
how to do certain things, and it sounds like you did that.
My son has been with his for 12 years.
And women shouldn't
just had their first child.
I'm gonna go out and say it. Women shouldn't have to do that. There's too many deadbeat dads out there.
I agree.
That's just a fact of life. I mean, this day and age is dads take the easy road out, and I mean that's just plain old wrong.
My thing is, if they want to resolve this issue, then stop being like they're being and step up and be real fathers, so we don't have to step up and play both roles.
Exactly, and and it's sad that you have to do that. But I taught my son how to fight. I mean, I had a wrestling background. I wrestled my whole life, so I was kind of naturally good at that. So I taught him that kind of stuff. I taught my daughter, how she should be treated as a young woman, her first boyfriend. I was the type of dad going to come to the door with a shotgun. Make sure you treat my daughter right. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's just there's a role for dads to play that should be there playing that, and it's sad that the dads aren't out there doing it. And it's good that you're there stepping up like you are, Sita. And I
had to, when my son went on his first date, I had to tell him how he was supposed to treat the woman. His dad wasn't there to tell him.
Yeah, and that's not right.
Right.
I feel like there's certain things, Sita, that we just don't like. It just should be the dad or the man stepping up and saying it, especially to the boys. Now, I remember when my son went to play football, I didn't, because I don't watch football. I don't know about football. I'm a basketball mom, but he went to play football. I think he was like in 6th grade. And all the kids are getting dressed and the dads are in there helping their boys get dressed. I'm like the only female in there, helping my son. And the coach was saying, "Did you get him a cup?" I thought he was talking about a drinking cup. I didn't know what a cup was.
I knew the difference. I wasn't a football person, but I did my research.
I did not know what a cup was. And so one of the parents happened to have a new one, and he was like, here it is right here. I didn't know anything about it. And it was in that moment that I felt like, oh my goodness, like I wish there was a man here or somebody here, because I was kind of embarrassed that I didn't know what to do. And I just feel like in certain things like that, that we as women, like we can try our best to be all that we need to be.
But when you don't have no choice, you got to do what you got to do. And the thing is, if you doing what you got to do and you have to step and play that role, my thought pattern is still, why not be celebrated in that role? You got to play it. And see, the thing is, we say we as women gonna do what we got to do to get done and get done what we got to get done, right? And but at the same time, and for the most part, if we are having that partner's help, we're gonna do it as women. And we're not going to step up and have to be stronger than what God created us to be. And so many occasions for myself, I had to step up and be stronger than what I was supposed to be as a woman. And so why not be celebrated for the times that I had to step up and be stronger than what God created me as a woman? When I couldn't call his father, and when I could call my dad and everything, but my dad had his sons that he was raising. And the football coaches still had their families, and they couldn't discipline my son. And I wasn't trusting who I was in relationships to discipline my son with, because they were relationships. And I had to step up. I had 2 sons. I had to step up. I had 2 daughters. I had to figure out how to be soft with my daughters. I figured out how to be strong with my daughters. And I was the one they had to talk to about their men. They couldn't talk to their father about their men, and because he wasn't able to be there. I'm still the one that they can talk to. I'm still the one that they call in the middle of the night. It's not an alternative.
Right, right. Now, Joyce Butler says, even so, that does not make you a father.
I'm not saying I'm the one that gave the sperm, but if I had to play the role, it's just like an actor that plays the role. And when an actor plays the role, they are their role. And they're gonna get an Academy Award for that role if they did well in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because they played the role.
And then Jamie says, do you all feel it's confusing to younger children to acknowledge a mother as both a mother and father on such a day?
Not if you talk to them.
She says mixing such to acknowledge and explain. Like,
not if you talk to them. Kids are very smart. We take kids as being less smart than what they are. If you talk to them, they understand some things better than what we as adults do. Mm-hmm. And they'll tell you. You don't have to tell them. They'll tell you. Mm-hmm. When my kids was little, I never told them to come and say Happy Father's Day to me. But they knew who was being their father, and they did it on their own. I never, ever said that. I never said it as teenagers, as adults, that you got to come and say that to me. I don't force the issue, but they know who's there.
Right.
And kids are intelligent.
Something good right there. If the kids brought it up and said, "Hey, thanks, Mom, for being the father figure in my life," I can live with that one.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I've had.
Yeah, I can live with that. Here's a gift for you stepping up, being the father figure in my life. But I'm just stubborn in my ways. I mean, their mother's a mother, a father's a father. But
I agree with that when you have that situation. I agree with that when you have that situation. But if you don't have that situation, then it's different, and it's a different choice. Mm-hmm. I would love to have the traditional situation.
Van says, she says, that's just what we got to do. Or did I put it up there? There it is. She said, that's just what we got to do anyway. We are mothers. And Joyce is saying,
but we don't have to step. See, they're not hearing me. We don't have to step and be stronger. We can still do the role as being a mother, but if you choose to step and be stronger and act like what a male would do. And like, for example, when my son was coming to me, and he was coming to me and being a teenage boy male, and almost at the man stage. And I couldn't treat him like my wussy mother part would say. As a female, I'd have been like, "Oh, son, calm down." No, I had to come to him like I thought a man would come to him. And because other than that, he'd have been controlling my house.
So, Peter, that's what I'm saying. Because I want you to help a lot of women, because I hear what you're saying. But then at the same time, like for me, there were conversations that I felt like a man needed to have with my son, because like I don't know, like I'm thinking in a woman's mindset. I know what we go through. I know how we feel. I don't know what a man goes through. And I feel like
but the thing is, if you don't have that, you gotta, for me, what I did was think of what I saw with my father, think of what I saw with my grandfather and how they would have reacted. And because I did not have to where I could call on their father, I did not have to where I could call on my dad, but my dad had his children. And I didn't want to do that all the time. I did call on him sometimes, and I did call on the coach sometimes. But there were times in that actual discipline where I couldn't. And I had to be stronger. I had to come at my son like, "No, you're not taking control of my house, and or you're going to deal with me." And
how do you have those conversations? Now, Joyce, let me read her comment first. She says, women cannot function in the role of a man, period.
I guess she didn't live my life, because I know what I had to do, and my son will tell you what I had to do, and my daughters will tell you what I had to do.
So how do you...
She can't tell me what I cannot live in when I lived it.
Mm-hmm. How do you... This is my question. And Brett, help me out, because I want to say this in the right way. Like, as a man and as a young man, like when you all go through puberty and everything, there's certain
Uh-huh.
things that as men, that as young men, I mean, and boys, that they're going through different stages in their life. I don't know that me as a woman, that I can
But
help
that
my.
doesn't have nothing to do with that. That's why you have the coaches. That's why you have. I would have my father talk to them on some things, and it doesn't negate the fact that I still had, at one point or time, had to step up and be stronger and play the man role too. And
Mhm,
I wasn't being the man. I had to play it, just like an actor plays a role, and
mhm,
I had to play the role.
mhm,
And
mhm,
yes, I did. Yes, I did do to where I called coaches. I called my father, and and whoever else that was in my social network to as a part of it when it came to my sons as well as my daughters. And but I still had to step out of my mother role and be more like a father role when it was in my home. I'm not gonna bring no stranger or no football coach or nobody in my home to handle my business.
right. I hear
And
you.
so
I understand. For me, I just never, I always stayed in like the mother role, and I just always felt like I couldn't. There was just certain things that a man needed to do. I just could not, step
It,
over. And, go ahead, Brad.
the, the woman shouldn't have to learn to do these things that it comes naturally as a father. You were talking
I
about
agree.
a couple things. I
I
mean,
agree. And if I had it differently, I agree 100% with you. But
right. I
if
understand you had to step up because of the situation, but there's just some things that dads can do more naturally than moms can do, and there's some things that moms can do more naturally than dads can do.
Mhm,
There's
yeah,
I know you were
and
talking, Dr. Lady J, you were talking about, when guys are reaching puberty. My dad put the fear of God in me. If I got a girl pregnant or something, and I was gonna be out of the house, I know he probably wouldn't have, but I mean, I was scared to death. I mean,
right.
my dad was a rough, gruff Marine. You know,
I had this. My dad was not a Marine, but I tell you what, my dad didn't play. And,
he put he
and
put the, he put the fear of God in me, and I
mine
was
too.
up. And it was when he said something. I mean, it was the law.
Mhm,
And I had that mom and dad household. I had both parents in my house, and usually the mom was the first line of defense. She got me with a wooden spoon, and if that
mhm,
didn't work, I got the belt from the dad. And then when I got the belt from the dad, by God, I didn't do it again.
I
But
can, well, in my case was first my kids went through the soft roll, and but then if that soft roll didn't work, I had to step it up,
yeah, I mean,
and I had to put the fear of God in them. I know my son, and prime example. One time I had put the fear of God in him, and he made the right choice.
but
He
there's
came
just certain
home in a police car, but he came in a police car because he did the right thing versus doing the wrong thing at that because I had put the fear of God in him. He didn't
but
want to deal with the other side of me.
there's certain
And
things that a father likes to do with his son. Like my wife, she hated camping until I bought a camper. But I
mhm.
like going camping out in the woods. Hey, my son got him his first pocket knife. Let's go whittling, on a stick. There's
I didn't
just some
have that choice, but my
there's a
dad
lot of
did
things
it.
that come
My
natural.
dad would take them fishing.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that come natural as a
For me,
father. I
But
mean,
it doesn't negate the fact of when you're in that home and you have to play both roles.
I'm not
You can
negating
get
the
all the
fact.
outside people that you want. It does not negate that fact.
I'm not negating the fact that you didn't step up and do that for your kids. And
yeah,
you shouldn't have to do that. I
I
mean,
agree.
but
and
you
and
But
did,
in
and
my case, my ex-husband, I was married. My ex-husband became sick, and it was more to where it was a danger for my kids to be in his presence than it was a healthy situation. And
mhm.
I wanted to raise four healthy kids, so I had to make a decision.
it sounds like you made the right decision. I mean,
Thank you.
when it comes to raising your, but like I said, you're
Now
still still in my eyes, you're a super mom. Okay.
Thank you.
You are a super mom, but you're not the father. But you stepped up and played that role.
Right.
But at the same time, since I stepped up and played that role, there's nothing wrong with getting the extra. And I'm still going to stick to that. There's nothing wrong with getting the extra. I was always taught to think out the box. I guess I'm thinking out the box. Then I'm not going to agree with everybody. And
let me go through some of these comments, because Chuck Walden said, I raised my child alone, and you better not call me mother. I guess don't say
that's his choice. That's choice. Choice.
Then we have Van says, she says, I salute you, Mom, for doing your due diligence, but we as women are strong regardless of what gender child that we had. It's how we raised them, what we had to do with what we had to do for them. It doesn't put a title on how we raise them. And then she says, if you are a woman of God, then you shouldn't be putting on a title on what you had to do for them, period.
That's her choice. I'm a woman of God, and it's my choice. God gave us a brain to think and choices to make, and it's my choice.
And then we have Joyce Butler, who says, ma'am, I was not in the least bit being disrespectful. What you did as a mother, a female. Even if you had to knock your son on his butt, you did that as a mother. And that's from Joyce.
That's her choice on what she thinks about it as. It's not changing my mind.
It's down to the kids, what they want to do. I mean,
right.
If my kids, thought I was a wonderful father, get me a Father's Day gift, it's ultimately up to them in my view.
I agree.
I think a father is a father, and maybe they could give you a gift saying, "Hey, Sita, you acted like my father. Here's a gift, for you acting like my father on Father's Day because you acted like a father."
Well, not necessarily acting. You was being there in both roles.
Yeah.
As much as you could as a woman. As much as you could as a woman. You took the time enough to care enough to try to play both roles so that I could be a better person as much as you could as a woman.
But I mean, your kids made that decision and said, you stepped up, Mom, and you acted like a father. Thank you for doing that. Here's a present.
My kids have done that.
I don't think single moms that haven't done that just say, well, I raised you, I get an extra present this year. I mean,
I don't expect no present. My kids give me throughout the whole year. I don't expect no present. It's just the fact of somebody saying that we can't do it. And then instead of them saying we can't do it, they need to sit up there and start being the minute they need to be so we don't have to do it.
I'm not saying a woman can't, raise a kid. I mean, like I said, you
No. We can't. Somebody saying we can't celebrate that holiday is the issue.
And nobody's saying you can't raise a kid. It sounds like you raised your.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. What I said is them saying we can't celebrate this holiday and be able to say, okay, happy Father's Day to the mothers that did the role. Just like I said in the beginning, I have no problem with a man because I'm secure in my role as a mother. I have no problem with a man celebrating Mother's Day. And because he had to step, it is his choice though. And I have a problem when men say, oh, you can't. And when I wouldn't even be in this position, or other women wouldn't even be in this position if men truly played their role. Don't tell me what I can't do. And it's my choice. It's my choice if I want to say Happy Father's Day to me. Because I had to do it. I didn't want to have to do it. It's not like I was one of those women that took their kids away from their father by choice or something like that. I can understand it. But anyway, that's just me. It's not going to change my mind on it. Like I said, I was raised to think out of the box. And this one is not changing.
Now, see
I don't expect no extra gifts or anything like that. My kids give me year round. They look out for me. And yes.
Asking a question. Somebody's asking a question. Do you want credit for being a mother or a daddy? That's the question to you.
My question is for being both. If I had to play only the mother role, then that's all I would have wanted. And I would have loved to only have had that. And but I had to play both roles, so why not get credit? It's like when you, like I said, when you work 2 jobs, you want credit and to get paid from both jobs. You don't want to just get paid from one.
I hear you, Cedar. I hear you. Now Lisa, let me read something that Lisa said. Lisa had a lot to say. She said, I don't mean to be negative, but we are mothers and we can't replace the dad. We need to
I'm not replacing no dads. Replacing is when you just want to get rid of them. I didn't want to get rid of them.
let me finish what she says. She says
Okay.
we need to find dad-like figures for our children if we're single mothers, but we are moms and we do things different. I always told my husband I can't make men out of our boys, but you can. I can make a woman out of our daughter. But when we were both lost, we could do neither. And then we ended up with what we see in our society today. She said, confused children and adults and the elderly are alike. She said it happened because we once were told we can do what a man can do in the 70s, and it pushed it into the 80s and then the 2000s. And she said it got louder.
Okay, I guess she needs to look at my children, and then she will change that perspective on it. And because my children, and yes, I did have them in sports and things of that sort. And but shoot, my son is being a daggone good dad. My other son does not have any children yet, and but he's choosing to be an entrepreneur. My son waited until he was 38 to have his first child. Him and his wife have been together for 12 years. And my kids had no kids out of wedlock, and all of them through marriage. So I did something right. So you want to sit up there and say you need to look at the scenarios and think a little differently. And
okay, now see, somebody said, can you please explain what you did in the role of a father, please? And thank
if she was listening, then she would have heard me. Because what I said was, and sometimes in discipline, and instead of being a soft discipline as a woman, I had to step up and be what a man would do in discipline. I'm sorry, as a woman, me, myself, and I wouldn't have jacked my son up. But as a man,
that's your duty as a parent. I mean, that's my philosophy.
As a woman, I wouldn't have jacked my son up. As a woman, I would have talked to my son. I would have disciplined him. Yes, I wouldn't have jacked my son up. And as a man, and I had to jack my son up. As a man, and what I thought was as a man role, I had to come tougher at my daughters. And to me, as a woman, in my natural human being way, as what I am, my way would have been to hug. My way would have been to hold and to talk to. And but because I didn't have that option, I had to get firm.
Nobody's questioning you how you raised your kids by any means.
I know that, but they're saying, okay, they don't want you to be able to say, okay, Happy Father's Day and things of that sort. And to me, I'm like, if you play the role, why not get the accolades? That's like having somebody work a job and not paying them.
Van said, congratulations, Nita, on your success with raising your children, being a mother, mom, a woman, and a parent. And then Ivette says,
thank you.
Ivette says, I became a single mom at 33, celebrated Mother's Day only. I do not believe that a single mom can carry both titles.
But that's her choice. That's why God made us all differently. That's her choice.
So we're going to be closing out in a few minutes, but Cedar, I want you to, this to me is a really interesting conversation because we have so many. Let's see, what did she say? Do you think that played a role in your son's decision to have a child later in life? That's for you, Cedar.
I know my son wanted to make sure that he was in a stable situation, that he had bought a home, and he was financially ready to be able to raise and not want to struggle. So if you want to say like that, yes.
And I did the same thing. I did the same thing as your son. I mean, we didn't have kids till later in life. I think it was in our upper 20s, but This day and
And
age, people
I know
aren't
my
thinking about that. I mean, you have to. It's expensive to raise kids, and too many people aren't doing that this day and age. I mean, before we had kids, we had our first house. We were financially stable where we could afford the kids. So many people are having kids these days that can't afford kids. That's
and
the
that's
whole.
what my son did. They purchased their first house, had been in their first house a few years before they brought a life into action.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's a whole different. That's a whole different topic. But that's where society's gone today. Just people, having kids and can't afford them, and the government's.
Overloaded.
And I think it does. Like, I think when our children, because I look, my son is the same way. I think when they do look at us and they see us struggling, in their mind, they're thinking, I'm not going to do that. So they do come up with a plan, like, I'm going to finish school, I'm going to get a house, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to get married and have children. They really try to plan it out, because they see the struggle that we go through. Now, Samaya says, for me, I don't want anyone saying it to me. I'm a mom, and dad has his title. So no for her. Do not say Happy Father's Day to her. Eleanor says, Father's Day reminds me of the men in my life. I raised my children as a single mother. I will always be a mom. I appreciate being a woman, but I will never be a man. So no, I don't think it's necessary to say Happy Father's Day.
I tell you what, I can fix this whole thing right now.
Go ahead, Brett.
I'm listening.
Let's have a super single moms day. Then you can have Mother's Day, super single moms day, and Father's Day. That'll fix everything.
No, you know what will really fix it?
Fix it.
If men start truly playing their role and not leaving us in a position where we got to play both roles.
Exactly. I agree with you 1,000% there.
And until then, to me, they need to sit back and zip their lips up and take whatever comes.
I mean, we had this conversation. I had this conversation with somebody else, and it's too easy for men that get women pregnant to not have to not be there, and even financially be there. That's not right. I mean, that's how it's turned out this day and age. If a young girl gets pregnant, the dad goes off and he's not. I mean, it's so often you hear about it.
It doesn't have to happen that way. In my case, I was married, and illness happened to him, and the illness changed his mindset to where he wasn't able to be. It was dangerous for my children to be in a situation.
Right. So you had to. We have those situations.
I had to make a decision.
Yeah, we have to step up. Now, Van says, she don't want to be saying Happy Father's Day to her. She doesn't have a penis. That's what she says. I don't have a penis.
That's her choice. But you don't have to have a penis to step up and play the role. And again, a choice. But I tell you what, if somebody said it to me, I'm gonna be like, "Thank you." That's all. No big deal. And
all right, Dr. Lady J.
But I'm not expecting the outside world to say it to me.
Somebody just sent me a text that said, "Ask about the Mimi going around." I have no idea what she's asking, but
ask about the what? What is it?
The Mimi going around. I have no idea what she means by that, but she said, "Ask about that."
I have no idea. Tell them they can come on if they want, or they can elaborate. I have no idea what that is. I don't know.
She's listening, so maybe she'll do a message.
Yeah, I don't know what she meant. John said he raised 7 children on his own. He raised 7 children on his own. And then Joyce said 2 men said Happy Father's Day to her. She found it to be offensive.
That's her choice.
And then
I had a loving father raise me. I'm not insecure in that part. I'm a daddy's girl 100%. There's nothing I wouldn't do for my father. Nothing I would not do for my father. If somebody, I'm on this podcast right now, if I got a beep and somebody said, you need to get to your father right now, trust me, I'm going to be busting the highway to get to my father. And love him to death. Respect him to death. And he's a well-respected man. and well-known man. Been there for me 100%. But at the same time, I know what roles I had to play, and I don't like the fact of them saying no. Because I'm secure in my role as a mother, so I don't have a problem with a man celebrating it.
Okay. Now Van said I have not heard any single dad that's raising their children or child
That's a choice.
Mother's Day to themselves.
That's a choice.
Let me ask you this. I mean, I used to get our kids. My wife was a teacher, so she left before the kids got ready. I was the one that got my daughter's hair in a ponytail every morning. I put the bow in. I put the dress on her. I cooked the breakfast. I did all that. I didn't expect to be, I was acting kind of per se in the mornings. I didn't expect to get a Mother's Day present.
But that's different. You still had your wife there in the house. You were doing what a father would do, and is playing his role being in the house.
Even if she wasn't around, I wouldn't want to be called. Wouldn't want to be. I mean, that's just my opinion.
And it's your choice.
It's my choice, and I wouldn't want somebody to tell me Happy Mother's Day. That's just
it's your choice. But the thing is, you really can't speak on it because you didn't have to step and do it by yourself. One, she was there. You can say what you think you would say, but when you're actually living it, it's a little different. Because I mean, I probably wouldn't have the same strong feelings about it if I hadn't actually had to live it. And
now,
when you haven't had to live it, you can't say it's different when you've had to live it.
Nobody's questioning it.
And the thing
is, I mean, you raised your kids phenomenal.
Thank you.
Nobody's questioning that one bit at all.
I'm just like, okay, it's a choice. Don't deny me my choice.
I'm not going to deny you your choice. Yes, ma'am.
Now, John said we need strong fathers wishing others Happy Father's Day. He said, I got it. He said wishing others Happy Father's Day waters down the recognition of strong, responsible fathers.
Wow. How? That's my question. How? It's plenty out here. How?
Because his point is,
I understand what his point is, but how really? And if they strong in who they are, just like me, I'm strong in who I am as a mother. So it's not going to take away from me if another man is getting Happy Mother's Day because of what he's had to do. Because I'm strong in who I am as a mother.
And Joyce said Joyce and Van agree with John. Joyce said my brother's wife died when his kids were very young. He raised those kids as a father. So, and
I would say Happy Mother's Day and Happy Father's Day to him, and I would be making him feel good on both days. Wouldn't care. If he didn't want to hear it, then that's fine. I would respect that wish. If he wanted to hear it, then I would respect that as well. It's a choice. Don't take away the choice. And don't say that person is wrong just because they think differently than you.
Now,
I'm not saying you're wrong on what you think. I'm saying it's a choice, and what I think is different.
Okay. Christopher said half of the kids, and he's going back to his comment about women. You should not say Happy Father's Day to women. This is the reason why. He said half of the kids are in jail or dead. The girls are hooded out, and that's because they need a father in their life.
And that's because them women chose to be 100% women in raising their kids instead of playing both roles, which is why my pastor said what he said one time about us women need to step up and play both roles so that our sons can come out stronger.
Okay. John says society diminishes a mom's role of father.
A
man's role as father. We are going against God. Oh,
how can society diminish something that a man are not doing themselves? We don't control them. And we're not telling men not to be in your children's lives. And we're not saying don't use the court system if these women are acting stupid and so you can still be in your children's lives. You're making a choice not to do that.
I think the problem this day and age is single parents are not stepping up to the plate like you did, Sita. I mean, so many people, if one, it's more prevalent in single moms, I would say, but if the dad leaves, there's a not most, but there's an awful lot of moms that don't step up to the plate like you did, and just expect somebody else to step into that role, or whether it be a coach, whether it be too many people rely on the government now for somebody to step in that role. There's so many moms that aren't stepping to the plate like you did, and you shouldn't have to do that, but you did it for your kids' sake.
I want to know, how are we diminishing the importance of fathers? We're not taking away fathers from them.
No,
There's
nobody.
a lot of no. Somebody just made that. John Flacco just made that statement that we're diminishing fathers from their roles, and we're not doing that.
I think the
They're
father.
choosing not to be in their role.
You didn't choose to be in that role. Now, I don't think you're diminishing the father by parenting like a father, but I think what he's saying is asking for recognition on that day. I think that's what he's saying.
Right. Yeah. He's
not.
right.
That day is a day, and it shouldn't make a difference. Just like okay, like I said, I have no problem with them taking recognition on Mother's Day, because I'm like, you just need to get secure in your role as a father, and if you get secure in your role as a father and do what you're supposed to do, then you won't worry about who else is celebrating your day too.
I hear you, Masita. Now, Karina said it is not appropriate because a woman will always remain a woman. God does not make mistakes.
Okay, then work 2 jobs and don't get paid for the other job. Call that appropriate or whatever you want to do. Work 2 jobs and don't get paid for the other job, and see how you feel. That's all.
And Joyce said, fathers create life and women birth life. And
yes, fathers create life and women birth life, and fathers need to step up and do their role. If they step up and do their role, then we won't have to worry about any of this.
Right. And so John is coming back to his comment. He's saying, we are diminishing fathers. Many women feel they don't need fathers. They want to have it all. That's from John.
That's not true. That is not true. Because I tell you what, if I didn't have to do it by myself, I would have been happy.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to say, okay, you can go to your father for the weekend. I would have loved to say, oh, I can call your father for this. I would have loved to say that.
Now, Miss Cedar, let me ask you this, because I'm just trying to go back to this comment, but someone said that you sound bitter. Do you think you were?
I'm not bitter. I am very happy and very at peace with my life. Very, very happy. And I'm at the best point of my life I've ever been in my life. And no bitterness at all. And I just don't like you telling me what I can and cannot do on that when I have to be able to do it.
Okay, got you. And John said this society needs to be more selective who we sleep with. Be more selective with who you sleep with. And then we wouldn't have the problem with, not having the fathers in the home. So listen,
that's going to change that, because men are still making the choices of not being there. In my case, like I said, I was married to the person. My case is totally different from the regular. I was married to the person. We sat up there and we said I do. And things happened to change him to where he wasn't right to be able to be in the I do anymore. Did I want it to be that way? No. And would I have liked to be able to call on him? Yes, I would have. But it wasn't there, and it wasn't a safe situation for me to do it with my kids. And it just wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Got you. Now, Miss Betty Payton says, in my opinion, I won't be saying Happy Father's Day to any single mother. Okay, Miss Betty, thank you.
That's on you. That's your choice.
Mm-hmm. So, I guess the bottom line is this, and Miss Cedar has been saying it throughout the whole show. It's your choice. So if you feel like, if you're okay with somebody saying Happy Father's Day to you, then have at it. But there's always going to be this big discussion, because just like tonight, everybody has their own opinion about this particular topic. And it's that women need to stay in their role, men need to stay in their role. And so when you're talking about Father's Day and Mother's Day, what people are saying is no, let the fathers
But the
enjoy.
thing is, men are making it so that we, as women, and I can't just stay in our role because they're leaving us hanging. If they want us to stay in our role, step up and be what men need to be.
Got you. John says single parenthood is celebrated and divorces are too easy. And Van says, well, still give him his title. Then your husband took 6. She said it wasn't your fault. Joyce said, exactly. Just because a woman takes out the trash, changes the oil in the car, typical duties of a father, that does not put you in the role of a man.
But that's
And
not what I'm even talking about to being a role of a man. That shows she wasn't listening. She came in with her own opinion and did not listen. That's not what I'm talking about in being a role of a man. That has
well,
nothing to do with what I'm talking about being a role of a man.
mm-hmm. Well, listen. Oh, Van, she did say she said she's
And
not.
I want to be a man, and
Mhm.
but at the same time, don't deny me on what I had to do.
Right. And so I think that, I feel like this. The bottom line is this. I feel bad that any woman has to raise her children alone. I was married, had oh, we lost her. I know she's driving in her car. I was married and, I separated when my son was 12. I never thought that I would be a single parent. So I know what it's like to be married, raising your child. I know what it's like to be a single mom, and it was quite difficult for me. And that's why I said, I respect any woman who has to step up in that role, and especially if you have more than one child. I just had one. I can't imagine having more than one child and being a single mom. I can't speak for the dads, but being a single mom, because it's hard. I work 3 jobs, it's hard. So, but for me, even though I did all of that, like I said at the beginning, if you say Happy Father's Day to me, I'm not going to get mad, but it's not something that I expect. It's not something that I want. And even for me, Theta and Rat, even Mother's Day, like it's a day to me, because Mother's Day to me is every day. I don't need that
I
one day set to celebrate who I am. I'm a mother every single day, every minute of the day. I'm a
I
mother.
agree. I just
When
don't
it
like
comes to
being
children,
told no, I can't when I had to play the role. That's all.
Yeah.
we're talking about two different things here. I mean, when you have kids, we're parents. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about raising kids. That's your obligation as a parent, whether you're married or single. I mean, that's an obligation as a parent to raise your kid. And I know it's harder when the dad's not around. But we're talking about parenting, and then we're talking about a holiday. Um, I'm seeing it two different. I'm seeing 2 different ways. But Sita, it sounds like you stepped up for the role and raised your kids right. I've said that multiple times, but you shouldn't have had to do that. But you're not the father.
The whole
Right.
thing that will resolve this situation is if you don't want to be with the woman, don't go unprotected. One,
Exactly.
if you don't want to be having kids, don't go unprotected. Two,
And then
take your
we're
time.
talking.
Three,
That's a different subject there. I mean, yeah, it's both parties'
and
responsibility
then
when
you
you're.
won't have to worry about somebody wanting to share your day.
Yeah, I mean that's
And
a
then
whole
you
different
won't
story
be
there.
blaming a woman about how these kids are turning out because you were there.
Well, it's the man's responsibility just as much as the woman's responsibility when it comes to having kids. Yes, and
I
when it
agree.
comes to having safe sex that you don't want to have kids. Yes, it's the man's responsibility just as much as the woman's. And there's too many men going around there not doing that.
Swinging it all around, having 2 or 3 different kids right back to back with different women and not being there.
And I was about to say how
But
many
then
how
they
many
want to blame us when
how
the
many single
world is
moms
going
you know out
bad.
there, 5 and 6 kids from 5 or 6 different dads. So I mean, it goes both ways. You need nobody. The man doesn't need to
But
have
the thing is that the
unprotected sex, and the
difference
woman doesn't.
is when a woman has 5 or 6 kids with 5 or 6 different dads, she's the one taking care of them. She still takes care of them. It's
Yeah,
not right, but she still takes care of them. Them daddies ain't there.
true. And out of all of this, like I said in the beginning, out of all of this, I think I just want us to have a better understanding. I need to come back and have this conversation again because I need all of us to have a better understanding, especially for Black women, because when we have to step up into those roles and we have to step into a role that we were not supposed to be in, that we were not made for, uh, you become a different person. But then the people on the outside, because we have to be that person, the people on the outside start labeling us as being aggressive, disrespectful, rude. You don't listen, you talk too much. And I just want to have that conversation one day to help people understand that because you get thrown into certain situations unexpectedly, this is what happens. It's not that you want to be aggressive. It's not that you want to be loud. It's not that you want to be this person that's so, got so much to say, but because you were thrown into these roles, and when you have children and you have to go out and speak up for your children, or you got to go talk to the coach, or you got to do different things, I found myself going from being, this woman who, was just kind of girly, and just made like a female, I'm just a female too, being this woman, like, I can get in your face and cut you down real quick without a problem. And I never liked that because I'm like, that is not who I am. But my situation forced me into being that person. It's survival. That's what it is. In order for you to
It
survive,
made you have to be stronger than what you really truly want to be.
right. Otherwise, your children are not going to make it. You're not going to make it. So it's like as women, we're forced into that role, and we have to take on not only being the woman, but we got to take on being almost like a man in there, which was difficult for me. That's why I was saying I am one of those women that says straight up, like, I need a man to do his job. And so if I got to go find the coach or whoever to be with my son, that's what I'm going to do because I can't do it all. There's things that
But
as a woman,
see, for certain parts, I can find a coach. But when
Mhm.
you in your household and you need to discipline your son, you gonna bring the coach in your household?
Well, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I believe, and I'm talking about especially with boys, that boys get to a certain age where they don't hear us. And I had to help my son to understand, okay, you do have your dad, but he's not in the house. And if I can't reach him at a certain time, I know I can call Coach Mark.
That's the age when I jack my son up. That's the age when my son got the right side of me. And he tells me about it to this day. I had to straighten him up. I couldn't do it.
I'll
I
give you
mean,
a good example. Well, my dad was a Golden Gloves boxer, and
uh-huh.
I remember he went
Put it
when I
this way, my
when I
son
turned
thought I was one. I didn't fight for nothing like that, but he thought I was a Golden Glove boxer.
what I was saying. My dad was a boxer, and I was about, I don't know, 12 or 13 years old, just when I thought I was becoming a man, man before I'm a man. He pulled out the boxing gloves and stuck them on my hands. He said, "All right, when you think you can be a man and you run this house, let's go at it."
Uh-huh.
We never boxed because I knew I'd get my butt kicked. But I mean,
And that was
he
from your dad. And see, what I'm saying is that men can put the fear of God in their children.
exactly. That's what I was getting
I'm
at.
telling you, women can too, because I got my kids right there. They tell you I put the fear of God in them.
And I
But
think we can, but
too
I
many
still,
too many women are in that situation,
yeah.
and you should have had to be putting the fear of God in them. But thank goodness you stepped to the plate to do that. But it's not
I
necessarily the way.
shouldn't have had to, but I
Yeah.
mean, who else can do it? I
Yeah.
can't call a coach to tell them to put the fear of God into my own child. That's my responsibility. That wasn't their good time. That was my responsibility.
And then
And I,
in your circumstances, yes. I mean, you had to step up to the plate. There's so many other situations where the dad's just not doing that. And I think as a dad, there's too many deadbeat dads out there not playing the role of dad.
I agree.
and I agree, but I still say that I could not be the man and the woman to my son. I just can't. I couldn't be dad and mom to my son. I can only be mom. That was just my personal opinion. That's how I feel.
And,
You know, I did the best that I could. My son turned out great, but I can't take all of that credit. I had a village of men around him that are still
See, he
around.
was blessed. I
Yeah.
had certain ones, but I would not on the outside of my home son discipline my son, but inside my house, and I had to be,
Exactly.
and I would have them back up. I mean, I would do things. And I came up with creative, crazy disciplines.
When
Mm-hmm.
I came home, I mean, my mom, at a certain point, I wasn't scared to get spanked by her, but I knew I was scared to death to get spanked by my dad,
Right. Exactly.
and because he put the fear of God in me, like what you're saying, Dr. Lady J.
Men have that. Men have that voice, and
Yes,
sometimes they can just speak. Like sometimes I could call my
They do, but
and I'm
sometimes
not,
as a woman, when you
and,
don't have no choice, you gotta step up.
and I'm not
well,
saying a woman can't do it. It's just it's a woman shouldn't have to step up to do that in a lot of
I agree.
situations, but
I
but,
agree one
but
hundred percent.
there are situations where you have to, and you had to, and you did it.
and I think we got to think about this. It's a case by case basis because I work with young
Exactly.
people every day, and there are women who are like you, see, who did step up, who did put the fear, and the kids still went the other way. And a lot of them, as a matter of fact, one of the young men I was talking to last week, his mother, I think, did an amazing job. But I'm asking him, why do you keep messing up? And you know what he said? Because my dad wasn't paying attention to me. They got a divorce. My dad went his way, and he just left me out here. And I'm saying, no, he didn't. He didn't really leave you. He was still there. Your mom was still with you. But in his mind, his dad left him. And so it didn't matter what his mom did. He wanted his dad. He
I
needed.
think what his mom should have done what else I also did. One, I got my kids counseling. Two, I talked to them like they were human beings about the situation. I didn't hide anything from them. And
Mhm.
you got to do that with kids. See, I work with kids, and so therefore I know how smart they are. That's my specialty, kids. And
Mhm.
so as a result
It's
of
our
it,
job. It's our job as parents to be nosy bodies. We're supposed to be an
yes,
aspect of their life. I mean, they're supposed to hate us when they're preteens and teenagers because we're wanting to know where
Define
they're
hating me.
of their life. I mean, that's our job as parents to be
I agree.
in their
I
business
agree.
and know everything they're doing. And that's why my kids turned out good and your kids turned out good. And I'm sure. Well, I saw your son. I saw that thing where your son um, became the teacher or whatever. He was with the teacher that taught him. Yeah, so he
Mhm.
turned out. I think we all did a good job, because we were in our kids' business.
Mhm. Mhm. And to me, it's case by case. And because all
It is.
children are different, what may work in your homes may not work in my home. And we're all different people in the way that we interact with our children and how we raise our children. So it's so many different things that I think we have to take into consideration when we have
True.
discussions like this. Let's see. She said it's called parenthood, not friendship. Exactly. You can't be friends with them, with the kids. You
And I
can't.
saw it when I was a coach. I mean, I always chose to coach my kids and everything they did. But I saw so many parents that would just drop the kid off and come back afterwards.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's so easy for parents. I mean, there were a lot of parents that just I know some parents couldn't do it because somebody had to get the kid there to practice. Some
Right.
parents had to work or whatever. But
Mhm.
even if you're not coaching them, be sitting in the bleachers, be doing something. You gotta be in their life. I mean, you can't let them stray because they're too young and dumb.
Yeah. And it
Yep.
and
You got to be tight.
it's
Exactly.
a lot of work, everybody, to be a parent. It is a lot of work. It takes commitment on your part, and you must be diligent in being a parent. I know that it's hard, but what I want to say to everybody who is a parent, if your children are still young and they're in school and everything, continue. That's why I'm always encouraging people, like
I
even on my
called her.
day,
Mhm.
continue to
He
stay.
called her.
Like I say, stick and stay because you don't want to you don't want to give up in the middle of raising your children. Make sure that you continue to stay on the path. There's so many different, there's parenting classes, there are people that you could probably reach out to kind of help you and show you and guide you if you have questions. I know you're going to get discouraged. I know it's hard. The financial thing is difficult. I know. Been there and done that. But what I will say, if you stick to it, and you determine in your mind that I'm going to do the best that I can with these children, that's all you can do. That's all you can do.
I'll tell you something. I was on death's doors 7 months ago. I mean, I was literally within hours of death. Mm-hmm. And part of, I had a moment where, I mean, I could have made a decision. I mean, I was literally kind of out of my body per se, and wasn't feeling the pain. And I remember thinking to myself, my kids are going to get plenty of life insurance. I got a house they can sell. My everything's in order. But I told you my kids are 24 and 21. Right. There's still life lessons to be taught. I mean, my son the other day, he has a good job, his first real career job. But he came to me asking about how to form an LLC. They spoke to me for certain things, and my daughter just this past week, she was talking about how, like, when you're buying your first house, what did you do when you bought your first house? I told her how much you saved up, and a certain percentage, this and that. You have to have a plan. I mean, there's still even my kids are older. There's still lessons to be learned, and that's part of the reason why I'm still here today. Yeah, and I think that as you get older, you start to realize, like, I think for me, I always reflected on what my dad meant to me, what my mom meant to me, how they raised me. And that kind of helped me as I was raising my son, even through the hard days, because it was four of us, with my parents. And I know that it was rough, and I know that it was hard for them sometimes, but they stuck in there, and my whole thing was, okay, I got to stick in there. This is all going to be over one day. Like, this is going to be over. He's going to grow up. He's going to go to college, and he's going to go get his own place. It's going to be over one day. And that was the thing. I had to keep pushing myself every single day, telling myself, like, you got to keep doing it. You got to keep going on the worst days. And the thing about it now is that he's getting ready to move into his own place, Rhett. And so now I'm looking like, oh no, he's leaving. Like, the time goes by so fast. Once you start looking at everything, like, it goes so fast, everybody. And that's why I'm encouraging you to not give up. Enjoy the good times, the bad times. Do what you need to do. All of us, Miss Cedar, Rhett, my child, all of our children are different. And so you have to raise them and talk to them in different ways, but don't give up. That's my big thing. And that's what I want to tell everybody. And I want to encourage you to not give up, because one day they grow up, they go from being these little people, that we had in our arms, to being teenagers, to being adult men and women. And you start looking back and you're like, where did the time go? Like, I'm at a point now, Rhett, where I'm helping him pack. And in my brain, I'm thinking, like, he was just in kindergarten, he was just in middle school, and now he's moving to his own place. And it makes everything that you did to help them, all of the struggles that you went through, it's like you don't even remember, because it goes so fast. The time goes so fast. I mean, I started out, I had the 3 jobs. I mean, now, I have a good job now, but starting out, I mean, I had 3 jobs. I was working at the insurance agency, and we have a family business, and then I had a lawn service on the side, and I was toting furniture on weekends. Yeah. I did that for years and years. Yeah. I did for about 16 years. I worked 3 jobs, 16 years straight. 16 years straight, worked. I did it for several years. Yeah. And it's tough, but I just tell parents, like, you cannot give up. And so, and even when I was doing that, I was Even when I was doing that, I was still finding time to coach my kids.
Right.
I remember being my next door neighbor. I've never coached soccer in my entire life. I live in a small town, and if you volunteer to coach one thing here, you're a coach for everything. And me and my next door neighbor, it happened to be during a real busy time of the year, and I was like, look, I coach basketball, I coach softball. I can't. But my next door neighbor, he was swamped at his job. I mean, we were both just swamped. But nobody stepped up. They're like, okay, well, we're just not going to have a team. We're like, all right, we found a way to make it happen. We found a way to make it work.
Right. And I think, that's what I want to leave everybody with as we close out. Like, I don't want us to get hung up on, should we say Happy Father's Day? Should we say Happy Mother's Day? Like I said, listen, I'm a mother 365 days a year. So I don't need a day for you to just stop and say Happy Mother's Day. I'm going to be a mother till I go to my grave. That's just how it is. But if you want to celebrate, I mean, fine. You don't have to, because I'm going to be Eric's mother no matter what. But
I'm gonna be a parent every single day.
Every day. It's a job that you never, like, this job never goes away. You're always a parent. Like, it never goes away. But I want to say to everybody that I hope you were encouraged with, Theta shared the success of her children and her being a single parent. Rhett's children are successful. My son is successful. And I really wanted them to come on because I want you all to see that even while you're going through your struggles of raising your children, don't give up. I know it's hard, but you got to stick in there and you got to do what you need to do to get these young people to where they need to be. And once you let them out, you can look at them and you can see them blossoming and growing into the men and women that you prayed for them to be. So I hope that we encourage some people tonight, and I got what everybody was saying. I love your comments. Thank you so much for all your comments and everything. But most of all, remember, it takes a village. And I know that sounds old and cliche and all of that, but it definitely takes a village. I want to give a shout out to the village of men that were around me. They're still around me with my son. I can pick up the phone any day and call them to go help my son, to go talk to my son. It was a village of men. And I'm so appreciative of that village. And so for those of you who are out there and you're listening to us, find your village. Don't be afraid to say it's hard, it's difficult. If you have to cry about it, it's okay. We've all shed our tears and stuff, but you get through it. And like I said, one day, that day finally comes when you see your children walking across the stage, graduating from high school, graduating from college, moving into their own place, getting married, having children, and you say to yourself, like, it was worth all the stuff that I went through. So that's what I want to leave with you all tonight. Sita, thank you so much for coming on. I got to get you to come back to do your spoken word stuff, y'all. She is a beast with this. Like, her spoken word is amazing. So I got to get her to come back. And Rhett, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad you're feeling better. For those of you who watched me before, Rhett was on a couple of our organ donation shows. So I'm glad you're feeling better. And listen, I wish everybody the best life ever. That's what I wish for you. I don't care about Father's Day, Mother's Day. I just wish you the best life ever. And now that you've raised your children, like for me, I say it's my time. I celebrate me every day. I already did my part, so I celebrate me. And I hope Rhett and Steve, I hope you all are celebrating yourselves as well. I hope you are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and thank you again for coming on. Thank you to everybody who commented. I really appreciate it. All it and
blessings, everybody.
Yes, and again, I appreciate all of you who support me. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. It sometimes amazes me, but thank you very much. So, Sita, any last words you want to say before we close out?
Peace and blessings to everybody.
All right, Mr. Rhett, any words you want to say before we go out?
Just be a parent, and Sita, happy for stepping in the role of a Father Day to you.
Thank you, Rhett. And thank you for being there and being everything you can be for your wife and kids.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's our job.
Hey, Brett, before we go, how long have you been married?
We were married. Well, I'm divorced now, but we were married almost 25 years.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. You know, my parents, I think they're getting ready to celebrate I want to say 66 years, I think, this year in December. It'll be like 66 years. Yeah, that's a long time. You know.
Yeah, it was Lily almost to the month, almost 25 years, but I guess she just, well, up and decided not to be around anymore.
Well, some people can't continue the journey, and then sometimes, you know, God sends you somebody else. So, you know what? Stay on the journey. Love yourself. That's why you gotta love yourself.
Oh, I've never been happier. Yeah. Never been happier.
You said never been happier. Right?
I've never been happier.
I feel you.
Even with all the stuff
I'm in the same place.
Even with all the stuff I went through, I mean, knocking on death's door and being, you know, yeah, trust me, I've never been happier.
We got to come back and do a show about divorce. That was the happiest day of my life. When that judge signed that paper, I was like, oh my goodness, that was the happiest day.
Will you invite me?
I feel you.
That was like
I totally agree with you on signing the divorce paper, being happy.
That was the best gift I gave to myself when I got those divorce papers signed.
Yeah, I went through a 2-year brutal divorce. Yes, I'd love to be on that show.
Yeah, we got to come back and talk about that.
I'd love to be on that one too.
All right.
I'd love to be on that one too.
Yes. I'm gonna work on it. And listen, don't nobody send me any messages talking about Lady J, you condoning divorce. I am not condoning divorce. I would hope that everybody stays together, but stuff happens. And I'm gonna always be honest. That was the best day ever for me when she signed those divorce papers. Like that was the greatest. I felt like I became alive again after that.
You got peace.
Yes.
I'm a
person now. Yeah. So we'll have that conversation about divorce. Anyway, y'all, have a good night. My name is Dr. Lady J. This was What Up Baltimore. Tonight we were talking about, is it appropriate to say Happy Father's Day to the single mothers that are out there? The majority of you said absolutely not. And so, but Miss Cedar, she stood her ground like a soldier on here. And Miss Cedar said, listen, she don't have a problem with it. So y'all, thank you so much. But that's what this show is about. This show is about you giving your opinion on how you feel about things. And so I really honestly thank both of you for coming on with me. Have a great night, everybody. And I'll see you next Monday. We'll have another conversation next Monday. All right, everybody. Take care. Be blessed. And raise some kids. Okay? All right. Good night, everybody.
Night. Thanks.
Just wanted to let you know that the host of this show appreciates the time that you've spent with them. Now, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you can keep up with everything that we're doing. And most of all, thank you for tuning in to What Up Baltimore online radio, where the people have the power.